Thank you for joining us for the 2-Minute Drills. I'm Aram Talegian, San Gabriel Valley Newspaper Group football writer, joined by Fred J. Robledo, San Gabriel Valley Tribune Prep Sports editor. Big one going down as far as the local area is concerned. The number 1 ranked Charter Oak Chargers in the Inland Division playoff second round at Los Osos High School to take on Rancho Cucamonga, Freddie, their Achilles heel over the past few years. Rancho enters this game at 9-2. Charter Oak enters this game at 10-1, Fred. And like I said, this Rancho team has been the thorn in Charter Oak's side as they try and move up.
When Charter Oak won their back-to-back titles in 2008 and 9, each year their big step-up game was Rancho Cucamonga, and that was that one you were saying, we know that Charter Oak is the best team in the Southeast. We wanted to measure how would they do against some of these inland powers, and they tied them one year and lost to them another year. So, and these two coaching staffs, they know each other extremely well. That's why they scheduled those non-league games back then. And I just think this sets up well. This is kind of what we figured would happen when these brackets came up. First thing we said was, boy, you've got that tough game. If you survive Chaparral, we're talking about Charter Oak, against Rancho Cucamonga. And in Rancho, you look at some of the games they played this year, losing to Upland only 19-7. Very competitive game against a great undefeated Upland team. And it's going to be on the road. It's going to be at Los Osos where they typically play their games. It's a tough call for Charter Oak, but you expected that, Aram. Once you get to the second round of the Inland Division playoffs, every game is going to be a monster. This is no different. Yeah,
it isn't any different. And the teams also played last year at Charter Oak, and Charter Oak had a real problem with these guys physically last year. There was a time where Charter Oak got down right before halftime inside the Rancho 5-yard line. They were not able to run the ball in with Kurt Scobie. It really wasn't even an option. So they ended up having to pass it a few times. And I believe the drive ended up in an interception in the end zone by Santiago on a mistake. That was indicative of the kind of problem they had with Rancho. Now, I don't think Rancho is as physical and as big as they were last year. Not saying they're not big or physical, but what they are, Freddie, is they are way more... Well, I don't want to say way more athletic, but they're as athletic as they were last year on the outside. And now you start to see some of that Charter Oak speed on the outside, especially offensively with Bobo, with Donovan Washington, with Aaron Vaughns. Starts to get nullified a little bit because they're not going to run away from these guys, especially on those passing routes. They're just not. You're talking about some of the best defensive back recruits in the country playing at Rancho Cucamonga, so it's going to be hard to throw the ball on them. And now you're saying, well, maybe Charter Oak can pound the ball with Vaughns, but what are the chances of that? Right. So you're seeing Charter Oak really playing a team now that kind of, the reason why they're their Achilles heel is because they match them athlete for athlete. And maybe even you can make the case at the line of scrimmage, at least when Charter Oak is on defense and Rancho is on offense, Rancho can be just as physical up front as that Charter Oak defense.
Well, I saw Chaparral last week. This is just Chaparral against the Charter Oak offense, and they were very physical up front. There were a lot of 3-and-outs. I mean, Vaughns wasn't able to do whatever he wanted against them. It really took Kurt Brown, a couple big bailout Corey Brown, on some bailout passes, really making some big plays to keep some drives alive.
Now, could that happen this week,
but that's the big question. Right. And I looked to the game last year against Upland with Charter Oak, and it's do you give your quarterback time to do stuff too? Because you're also talking about athletic guys that can get to the quarterback and put pressure on him. Brown needs time to do his things. I think he's more than capable, and I think he's a key. He's one of the reasons why in the beginning of the year, I wasn't sure what Charter Oak was going to have, because I thought when you get to this stage, you can't just be a run-oriented team. You've got to be able to balance it out, and Brown has done a great job of balancing out and being great for them the second half of the season. He's going to have to continue to be, because you're not going to be able to just pound at Aram or just run the ball. You've got to be able to do a little of both. Now, defensively, Charter Oak is one of the best defensive teams I've ever covered.
Yeah,
I've seen that
might be the best for me.
Especially last week. I mean, the way they were able to stuff Vista Murrieta and not let them do anything, running the ball and even their secondary, and they put a lot of pressure on you. I'm not sure Rancho. I think this. I'm not sure Rancho Cucamonga is going to be able to get off like they have against other teams. I mean, I really am looking at a low-scoring team against two teams you would think are going to be able to put up a lot of points. I just think it's going to be the opposite. Clay Fowler earlier in the year, this was his team to win the Inland Division when they lost to Upland. They're obviously a great team on paper, but Charter Oak has impressed me so much. Aram, I think it's going to come down to whose defense is better,
right?
And that's why I like Charter Oak.
Yeah, I'm going to lean Charter Oak in this spot too, just because that defense I think is good enough to win the game, and I like the matchup of them against the Rancho offense. But if Charter Oak's offense, and I kind of said this against, going into the Bishop of Mott game, if they're taking chances with their offense and those chances aren't working out, instead of using that defense to set the offense up, you're going to be using the offense, or you're going to be using that defense to bail the offense out. And that can't be the situation. You can't be putting that defense on short, fields with, turning the ball over to Rancho and handing them good field position and whatnot. If Charter Oak, and this is a big if, I don't know if they'll do this, if they wait out Rancho like I thought they may do against Bishop of Mott, if they can wait them out and keep it a grinder of a game and maybe have a chance to win it at the end or get some kind of big turnover at the end that sets up a winning score, I think they have a shot. And you got to also mention that they have Jack Schneider, the place kicker. He's very good. Field goals could come in very handy in a game like this. I just get the feeling, Fred, I hate to go on gut, but hey, when you got one like mine, it's not such a bad thing. I hate to go on gut, but I just get the feeling that this is the time that Charter Oak finally gets over that Rancho hump.
Yeah.
And I'm going to pick Charter Oak in a very, very close game.
And I'd love to see that happen. When you think of our area, you have the Mid-Valley and the Southeast and those teams that are going to win championships. But nobody has the opportunity to do what Bishop of Mott tries to do in the Pac-5 or what Charter Oak is trying to do at the Inland. And that is advance and get to the finals playing against some of the best teams in Southern California.
Right.
And the Inland, to me, is comparable to the Pac-5 when you get to those final 8 teams, those final 4 teams. Rancho Cucamonga can play with anyone, really. Or they can play in the Pac-5. And obviously you've got that huge juggernaut waiting in the wings, probably Vista Murrieta. And if Charter Oak wins that game, they would get Vista Murrieta at home, the team that everybody
That'd be a lot of fun.
Is the best team in the state. We had Mark Stroder, whose son goes to Chaparral, who said without a doubt, in his opinion, they're the #1 team in the state. And I think that's the opportunity that Charter Oak has, being in the Sierra League, being in the Inland Division. Nobody else except for Bishop Mott, who's already out of the playoff, can lay claim to having the opportunity to do these things. That's why I think it's special. And that's why I love that their defense is this great right now, because I think if you're going to win this game, if you're going to have a chance, you've got to play good defense and have enough offense. And in Charter Oak, that's their recipe. That's what they have, more than some of the teams I even think they have in the past. This is the best defense I've seen them have. And this is over those 2008 and 9 teams. The 2009 team shut out the entire Miramonte League and shut out Diamond Ranch again in the championship. But this isn't Diamond Ranch.
Right.
This isn't a team that's 5-5.
But this isn't the 2009 team either. These guys are better. I mean that.
No, 2009 and
they had all the signings. I understand,
but they weren't this physical up front. They didn't have this many guys on the line. They had secondary guys. Yeah. Those are some of the main ones.
And they had Keith Smith at linebacker.
They had Keith Smith. He was probably the lone. They had a couple other ones. But I just think collectively, this team, the way they get after you, my gosh, I couldn't believe the way they continually pushed a team like Chaparral, who likes to run the ball, who's had some success against some really good teams.
You can't run on
They keep pushing him back, and the pressure that they put on the quarterback.
Yeah.
That's so key when you don't let a quarterback get off and do his thing. You're right. I think
that's where I think they have a shot in this game.
I want that game against Vista Murrieta.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that in the Valley once you get down to the semifinals? That would be the game of all games, and I want to see.
You just want
Vista
Murrieta to come to the SUV, so you can try and convince Suat Cravens to go to UCLA after UCLA beats USC this weekend. That's what Fred's real motive is there.
Too, Charter Oak over Vista. I think I'm getting to that point. If I see them take care of Rancho.
He's getting carried away with CO now. All right. Okay, so we both have Charter Oak, which means good luck, Chargers, on Friday night. That's at Los Osos. Chargers and Cougars. Get out there and enjoy it.